Hello there, I'm Lee Kyle and this is a guide to how to set up a stand-up comedy gig. So the very basic equipment you need for any gig, you're going to need a PA system, a mic stand, a microphone and some decent lighting. A lot of venues will have them. If not, if you've got your own, you can set up a nice gig in any workable venue on just that basis. I'd also suggest taking a backdrop which will improve the staging of the environment, but we'll get to that later on. In terms of the microphone, when setting that up on the stage, very simple. Most mic stands are straight up and down. Some of them have the option to angle it. Please do set it up without it angled, so straight up and down. If you can, a wired mic is much preferable to a wireless mic. They tend to cut out a lot less and have better volume control for the performer. If you do have a wireless mic, do get spare batteries because quite often they do run out. And also, during setup, don't wrap the cable around the mic stand. It needs to be easy for the performer to remove within seconds. It's important to have music playing during the breaks. Often there will be a system in the venue where you can play the music on. If not, take a phone and a connection. We all have the ability to play music on our phones. Keep the music quite low so that people don't feel awkward chatting over it. And also you will want music to play the acts on, which obviously will be then a lot louder. Okay, for lighting, what is very important is that the stage is lit as well as possible and the audience is as dark as possible. Partly, comedians, let's face it, they don't necessarily want to be able to see the individual whites of every audience member's eyes, but more importantly, the audience doesn't want to feel seen. They want to be able to relax and enjoy the show without the feeling that everybody's looking at them. During the breaks, do bring the house lights up so that when the lights go off again, the audience feel that a show is about to begin. If possible, in a room, the ideal is that the staging is in the middle of the room on the horizontal, by which I mean the crowd surrounds you rather than you're at one end. Some venues will already have a stage in, you don't really get the choice there, but what you want is the crowd set up as close to you and as close to each other as possible. Big round tables are an absolute atmosphere killer. If numbers are lower, you may want cabaret seating with small tables around. Try to make it as comfortable for people as possible, but please try not to get those massive round tables in. Also with seating, do make sure there's a clear and obvious route for acts to get to the stage, but also when the crowd are coming in, do get them to fill up from the front. If not, and the compere comes on and has to try to do their job themselves. Some people will be reticent that they're going to get picked on or that they're going to have a worse time at the front. Please reassure them that this isn't really how live comedy works. Compares are usually able to read the room and will not pick on people in the audience who do not want to be involved in that way. The ideal situation is to have a green room where the acts can sit and chat and relax before the show. In a lot of venues this is a possibility. If that's doable, that's great. If the venue can supply at least free water, that's excellent. Maybe snacks, we're not going to lie, a drink may be a great bonus. But the great thing about stand-up comedy is that we can work without a green room if that has to happen. We're happy to stand at the back of the room and watch. But if there is somewhere that you can supply, we're genuinely grateful for that. If possible, it's great to have someone whose specialised role is to check the tickets when the audience come in. Now in smaller venues it may be the case that someone who works at the venue or the compere has to do that job, but ideally it's great if there's somebody welcoming them as they come in, checking the tickets and giving them little bits of tidbits of information they may need during the show. For example, telling them not to heckle, to sit down the front and so on. What about cash flow? Take into consideration people are going to want to buy on the door if the show hasn't sold out. We need both a float and a card reader. That's simple. If you're in a multi-purpose venue that maybe has more than one thing, be very careful about noise spilling over from other rooms. Please try to make sure that that is at a minimum or, to be honest, not happening at all. Turn any distractions off in the area. We can't perform with televisions on in the same room or loud music or fruit machines banging. They need to go for the duration of the show. Also, make sure that if there's any regulars to a venue, in the outside area near the gig who are chatting loudly, just have a word with staff and get them moved to somewhere else. Most shows will have 2 intervals. Sometimes you'll have a show with 1. On very rare occasions you might have one with none. But most venues want to have intervals so they can sell food or drinks. It's very important though to keep an eye on those intervals. It has to be somebody's job to make sure that the intervals don't drag on too long. You may want to sell drinks at the bar, but if an interval's 40 minutes long, the show isn't going to be a huge success. So try to have intervals 15 to 20 minutes with the lights up and the music on low. At most comedy gigs, the bar take's very generous, and that's often done by closing the bar during the show. It means that people are more likely to go to the bar and spend more during the breaks. And the bar being closed massively increases people's focus on the shows and the enjoyment of it, so makes them want to come back the next time. Now, the compere at the gig will explain the rules of the gig to the audience, which are basically no talking while the acts are on, no shouting out, turn your phones off, don't be a dick. Those are the 4 main rules of how to enjoy stand-up comedy. They will be reiterated by the compere, but it's important that people in the venue also keep an eye out for those rules, and if somebody's breaking one of the rules in the audience consistently and the compare's told them to stop and they don't, to have a quick word with them. And then hopefully it won't go any further than that, but there are occasions where the gig needs to be policed in a way that somebody's asked to leave. It's in all of our best interests for the night to run to time. You want to finish and start when you say we're going to finish and start. So the compere will be responsible for the acts, making sure that the breaks start at the time that they're allotted, and it's important that the venue also makes sure that the breaks finish when that time's allotted. The last thing we want is to have people leaving after transport is finished or having difficulties getting home. We want people to enjoy the night, but we want to leave them wanting more rather than thinking, that was a slog. If possible, if there's a show manager in the venue, that is ideal. Somebody who is responsible for the show starting at the right time after intervals. Now, they will liaise with the compere of the event to make sure the comedians are ready. They can then communicate with each other so everything runs smoothly. In smaller venues, it's not always possible. In that case, it's the compere's job, and a wide range of experienced compares around the country do that job without really thinking about it. It's something we can take care of. Right, it's the end of the show, now what? Well, what have we got prepared? Is there a next gig in that venue? Plug it. Say when tickets are on sale. Are they on sale now? Are they discounted? Let people have that information. Are there flyers for anything we need to plug? Do they go on the seats? Maybe they do. Maybe it's a sort of venue where it would be better to give people them in the hand after the show. Do take that into account. Is there a bar in the venue? Do they want people to drink afterwards? Is the bar in a different part of the venue? Tell people to move on to there, or tell people to stay here. But most importantly, thank them for coming, plug the next gigs. So that's just a basic rundown on how to put together a basic running of a comedy gig. Hope it was informative. My name's Lee Kyle. Bye everybody. That's what I see.
That's a wrap.